Merci d'accueillir sur scène le Chief Technical Officer de Thales Group, Monsieur Marko Erman.
Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. I guess it's noon almost. So we'll talk a little bit, of course, on the cities, but the cybersecurity. What does it mean for a city, cybersecurity? So if I ask you to associate one word with the life in the city, well, given the audience, probably a number of you will say entrepreneurship, culture, discovery. But I'm afraid that also you and many people outside this building will say pollution, stress, noise, violence, and traffic jam. As for myself, I was already driving 3 hours this morning in Paris, so I would vote for traffic jam, if you are with me. It is as if the city has become a kind of necessary evil. The things that we have to live in, because half of the humanity is living in the city. Now, I think that there is some hope. And I would like to share with you that we reach a tipping point, a point from which we can once again imagine the city of tomorrow and take control and take back the control of the space we live in. So let's talk a little bit how the cities really start in ancient times. In ancient times, cities were the place where political, economic, and cultural power was concentrated. There were also places that actually have physically protected people in those that live in the city. And the main idea of the city was to organize the space, organizing the interaction between all of these people that occupy a relatively tiny space so that they can live together in the best possible conditions. And I think that the idea of the city, which is an interactive, collaborative space, has always been very fundamental. How to get people with different wants and needs living in a same common limited space, and how to organize the city so in a way that combines individual and collective interest and hopefully freedoms as well. I think that ever since the humanity stopped the nomadic way of life and started the sedentary lifestyle, the city has been driver of human progress. Well, human progress, or at least this was the case until recently. With the advent of industrialization, more and more people looking for a better place to work and hope for a better life have rejoined the city to live in. It didn't really work like that for everybody. And to the point that the expression like les cités in French or the inner city in English aren't positive anymore. And in fact, well-being means very different things to different people. And certainly the notion doesn't recover the same reality in cities like Lagos, New Delhi, as compared to Paris, Singapore, and some other cities. But if we look at the ranking of the best places to live in, which appears every year, you will see that the same places, the same cities appear very frequently on top of the list. You will have Melbourne, Vienna, Calgary, Toronto, and some other places. All of these cities, in a way, they have something in common. They are in a nice, natural environments. They are a very vital place, a very entrepreneurship places. They enjoy economic development, and also they have a sense of security. I think what's really interesting are the criteria that are used for these rankings, because they tend to show what people really expect from the city. And the top 3 needs that appear for these cities are mobility. I think there was a lot of talk already about the mobility, and I will come back to this as well. Connectivity, but also a city as a gateway to the world, a gateway to make my pastimes and to make my cultural explorations. And when I said in the beginning that we are at the tipping point, I really meant that technologies, and in particular the digital ones, give us some tremendous new ways to meet these demands. Now, and you know that perfectly already now, digitalization is allowing to permanently interact and connect people with the city. You can gather different kinds of data. You can connect your friends. You can connect in your professional life. And you're able to use this data when you want, for what you want, the way you want. And what we all expect from the cities are to be able to work there, to live there, and to have social interactions, both in the physical space and the virtual space. Yes, virtual, because in a way the digital technology are overlaying now with the virtual space the reality. And in fact, the two are very interlinked. And this gives us, again, a tremendous opportunity to use this combination of the virtual and real spaces to better organize the interaction in the city. Now, again, you know that, but digital revolution is based on some key technologies: connectivity, Internet of Things, big data, artificial intelligence. They are the foundation that can transform the city in a better place to live. But for sure, we will not have the well-being without another key ingredient, which is trust in these systems and technology. And trust goes with the security. So yes, and I will be very talkative on that, cybersecurity is very critical. So let me illustrate this with a few examples. Firstly, the cybersecurity can impact directly the physical security. Imagine you have an incident in the city, and digital technology will allow to let fire department, police, first responders to coordinate their efforts to optimize the emergency response. While doing that, they will collect the data, they will communicate between them. Now, in communication, in order to make this response, they need to rely on a network that is absolutely secure, that is absolutely resilient, which means that if there is an incident happens, this incident should not destroy the communication network, which usually is not guaranteed in all cases today. Now, the vision of a secure city is not something that is just a vision. There are things that exist around us that are very impressive. I would like to share with you what we've done in the biggest city in the world, which is Mexico. 30 million inhabitants are living in Mexico City. Mexico City is suffering from a number of crimes in the city. Most of them, the majority of them, is with gunshots. We have installed, after really trying to understand what the problem is, with the mayor, with the municipality authorities, and with the people around, after understanding the problem, we have installed one of the most sophisticated high-tech system to try to diminish the crime in the Mexico. I will not have time to go into many technical details, but I'm ready to discuss with you if you're interested after the talk. But just let me give you what is important, what is the gain that this brings to the people living in the city. Before we came in with the solution, the average time for a police or rescue to come on a place where there was an incident or a murder was 12 minutes in average. After the system has been installed, it has been reduced to 3 minutes. The difference between 3 and 12 minutes for people can have the difference between life and death. 50% of the cars that are stolen in the city, and you can imagine in 30 million inhabitant city there are a lot, 50% of the cars are found in less than 24 hours. And the municipality, which is measuring what is the rate of criminality in the city, estimates that after the system we have installed, the criminality has been decreased by 30 to 50%. So this has become very popular in Mexico, and to the point that they call it Ciudad Segura, which means secure city. Very visible for the people. Let me say a few things about the transport. As we heard before, of course, transport will help me to move all around in the city, outside to the city, quickly, hopefully, and this will be using a number of public transport, train, tram, subways, and others. And all these will be monitored, have supervision system, and some command and control centers that might become very sophisticated. Again, with digitalization, we'll be able to ensure that we'll be, travel safer, actually consume less energy, the environment impact will be moderated, it will be smooth, on time, and more convenient for the people. But again, all this is only possible if nobody tampers the machine and in a way is jamming all of your system. Now, sometimes the transport revolution is again, not something ahead. And simple things can change a lot of things. Let me share another episode that happened to me very recently. I was in New Delhi, taking a taxi and trying to join a place where I had a meeting. And as you all know, traffic jams in New Delhi, this is quite severe. So it took me some time. And we had the time with the taxi driver to start a discussion. And obviously, he asked me, what are you doing in your life? Well, I said, I'm an engineer, I'm in a company that's probably not familiar to you. And we do a lot of things, but among the things we are doing, we have been installing the subway, that is the metro, which is in New Delhi. And then the driver stopped the taxi, turned to me, I was sitting on the back, with a big smile on the face, and the face full of gratitude. I wonder what's the reason. I mean, it's not such a breakthrough to make a subway in a city. But he said, you cannot imagine how my life changed with this line. My mother, his mother, is living in the other place of the city. It took him almost a day to go from where he worked to see his mother. Because, of course, he was working in a rich part of the New Delhi, and his mother was living in a poorer part of the New Delhi. And so one day to go there, one day to go back. And he said, I'm too poor to afford 2 days not to make my job and driving a taxi. Since the subway is there, I can do it in the morning, back and forth. And so I see my mom every week. I know how she's doing, I can help, and so forth. So my life has changed considerably. So smart cities mean very different things to many people. So we took metro in Paris for granted. There are places where this is, wow, just a revolution. Now, of course, and again, we heard that before, technology can do much more for our well-being in the city. Self-driving cars will take you from your home to your destination one time in the future. Drones will deliver parcels to where they have to deliver them, to your home eventually. Robots and automation will do the housework. But again, only if nobody hacks into the system, takes control of your car, or messes with your home automation. You would not like to go home and see that the temperature is 50 degrees, right? So you still like that it does what it has been meant to be done. We are used to use our smartphones and watches. Tomorrow, smart devices that might be maybe smart skin or intelligent devices that in one way or another, our body has them on or inside, and we use that to pay, to record data, to assess my medical data, and other data that makes my life simpler. But again, if you don't trust the system, you will not do it. So we do it only if you are sure that nobody is stealing your identity and your privacy. So in theory, the technology might bring us all the freedom we want. Freedom of movement, freedom of expression, freedom of information, but only if we can trust the system that is behind. The cities of tomorrow, they will be also relying on a number of networks. Communication networks, transport networks, social networks. And our life in the city and the city itself will be very much depending on the flow of information, of goods, of people through all of these networks. Keeping these networks in good shape is one mandatory task to be done. The slightest blockage, the slightest failure could prove fatal. As engineers know, the more interconnected a system is, and the city of the future will be massively interconnected, the more serious the consequence of a failure or a cyber attack could be. Of course, if somebody steals your identity, steals your autonomous car and puts it in the wall, well, you would not like it. You might be even severely damaged in your private life. But imagine what could be the consequences of this kind of misfunctioning or cyber attack are scaling up. And if a system failure or a cyber attack took out transport network, communication network, water supply, energy distribution, it becomes very scary. So this is why cybersecurity is your best friend. Now, you might be thinking that, and you might find it a little bit odd that I'm so optimistic about technologies. At the same time, we can read in all papers about the new technology, and there are so many people afraid of what they can bring and change to the society. But let's step a little bit back and take a broader perspective. Just one example. Not so long ago, people were scared about steam trains. They thought that the people will be literally melt at such high speeds. Now, such high speed at the steam train means 30 to 40 kilometers at the beginning. Nowadays, you can enjoy traveling in a TGV or equivalent Shinkansen and others at the speed that is 10 times faster than these steam machines were 1 century ago. And you feel comfortable, you feel safe, you enjoy it, and you are very relaxed. And of course, there are other examples of fears that proven not to be true. I mean, when television appears in the homes, I mean, people expected a lot of strange things, radiation, the brain, the eyes, and so forth. We survived that one. Microwave ovens, except if you put your cat inside, proves to be relatively secure, and so on. So, in a way, we can smile about it now, but I think it's perfectly natural, the people to have concern about new technology. In fact, everything that is new, and new that probably from your own life, new and different can be seen as an opportunity or as a threat. What all these examples are showing us is that technology is not good or bad in itself. The usage could be. The decision about the usage needs to be collective, and here is where also the transparency is coming into the game. Transparency about the decision, transparency about data, and that we know that this is a very burning issue. There is also the necessity to have a minimum set of rules so that we can live in a freedom. Just remember what happens in the car. A century ago, the car, there was no infrastructure, there were no security rules, and people were just enjoying driving. 1 century later, I mean, we put in place things that regulate the traffic and so forth. However, still today, I don't know if anybody in the room knows how many people are killed in the car accident every year. One number? It's more than 1 million. 1.3 million people are dying every year in cars. How many people died in airplanes last year? 44 in the whole year. So what we are doing for airplanes, we will do it for the safe cars, for the autonomous cars. and this will change the picture completely. And so these examples of the car easily extend to the city as a whole. To preserve individual liberty, we'll need collective rules and a high degree of digital security. So to sum up, I would like to say that indeed digitalization opens new exciting horizons, and if we do it right, we'll serve the interest of the society as a whole. Technology is not replacing humans, it's not robbing people of their destiny, it's an add-on for the quality of their life. As you understood, we believe that cybersecurity is one of the key ingredients, and cybersecuring data, object, networks, transaction, communication, we will have the opportunity to create cities where the human well-being will be at the center. I hope you to enjoy these cities, and thank you very much for your attention.